Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. Today I'm joined by Neale to discuss the best captaincy options ahead of Gameweek 5. Neale, welcome, how are you?
Pretty good, Joe, yeah. How's things?
Yeah, good. All fine. Like yourself, very busy week because FPL is back this week. So we have to get out of our international game mindset and back to FPL. And for me, it involves a wild card as well. So extra brain power is being used, or lack of brain power is being used for that. But let's crack on with Game Week 5 and the captaincy as well. So now Game Week 5, it follows an international break, as we said. So we're going to hope a lot of injury and air miles don't scupper our choices. But let's start, I guess where we have to start really, is Man City against Liverpool. It's Man City options against Liverpool options. It's kind of a common theme this season. Those who back Salah and Mane, those who back the likes of Sterling and Aguero as well. So let's start with Liverpool. A home game against Newcastle. It looks too good to ignore, I've written here. But is Salah or even Mane the best captain option for Game Week 5? Yeah, what do you think of the Liverpool assets this week?
Yeah, any other week, it wouldn't be much of a debate, would it? The fixture, home to Newcastle, who always put up a fight against the Big Six, but always lose, in my experience, as supporting Newcastle for 30-odd years. But of course, you've got another fixture, which we'll discuss in a second, which is Man City away to Norwich, who are defensively the worst team in the division. But yeah, Liverpool v Newcastle, I think this was 4-0 last year. I think that the disclaimer there was that it was on Boxing Day and Newcastle were effectively resting players for a more winnable game. I think if you look at Newcastle's record the rest of the season against the Big Six, there was a lot of 2-1 defeats, which I think is basically us in a nutshell, where we set out to defend. You'll see the same 5-1 formation you saw against Tottenham in game week 3, was it, when we won at Spurs? Which I think is probably the big worry from a Liverpool perspective, especially if you're owning Salah or Mane. I do think Liverpool will win. They will break us down, but we won't show the kind of attack and ambition that Norwich will against Man City, for example. So that is my initial concern. I'm not unduly worried about owning Liverpool players going into this. I'm quite happy to have Salah and Alexander-Arnold. I think the obvious two choices are Mane and Salah. Have been for a long time now. Of course, we've got Firmino to throw into the mix this season based on his stats. But yeah, Salah v Mane. The stats would, again, as they always do, seem to point towards Salah. He's way ahead on terms of expected goal involvement, which is something we will discuss in more detail tomorrow night, I believe, on the Scoutcast. XG and all things involved in expected data. So yeah, he's ahead of Mane. In fact, he's third amongst all FPL assets, Salah, for XGI, which is expected goals and assists combined for the uninitiated. So he's on 3.33. Mane is well down in that list on, I think, something like, in fact, he's not even on my list. He's at 1.08 or something like that, 1.06. Now, of course, that isn't the be all and end all. And I think he's had 3 big chances this season. We should add that he wasn't starting in game week 1 as well against Norwich, which is where Salah would have racked up a lot of those shots and expected goal data. So there's a bit of a leveler there, I suppose. But yeah, Salah data-wise, you'd say is the standard option. I looked at home matches last season for Liverpool players, certainly for these two anyway. Comparison I did earlier this summer. So both of them started 19 games at home, didn't miss one, wasn't benched on any occasion. Salah 20 attacking returns to Mane's 18, but all of Mane's were goals, so not one assist. Mane averaged more points per match at home, averaged more double-digit hauls at home, so 6 to 5. Did blank on one more game and Salah, but not much in it. So yeah, Mane actually had the edge last season at Anfield. It was more away from home that he couldn't really compete. So yeah, there's not much between them really. I think if you've there's not many people will own both, I would suggest, given the prices. But if you've got one, I don't see any point in playing the hokey-cokey and shipping one in and one out based on the points this season. I think you certainly keep for this fixture. And if you didn't own City, then it would be the obvious captaincy pick Unfortunately, most of us do own City assets, and we've got a bit of a dilemma. So yeah, great options this week. And as we've proved this season in our captaincy videos and articles, the obvious choice isn't always the one that scores big. I think we've got it wrong every week, have we, so far, based on the Sterling conundrum. So yeah, it's on paper, I would suggest City assets, which we'll discuss in a second. But Liverpool and City have been scoring points where we thought they wouldn't this season. So yeah, tough one. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think looking at some of the teams that have already wildcarded, so Salah to Mane was a popular wildcard move maybe a week or so ago.
Yeah.
And so there are those with Mane, no Salah, that are thinking, well, I'm going to captain a City asset, and as we'll come to, that's a very good move. But, however, I think they're perhaps overlooking Mane because they don't have Salah. They're just assuming Mane isn't the captaincy pick. I moved to Mane at the end of last season, and that would prove very successful. He matched and in many weeks bettered Salah as well. I was quite happy just owning one, and so I think he is a viable captain. Salah with 13 shots this season, that's joint top with Aguero, shot every 34 minutes in the box. There's 10 shots in the box. Worth mentioning though that Firmino, as you mentioned, got good underlying stats. Indeed, 17 shots, 12 in the box. So once again, poor Firmino is being overlooked again. Could end up being the best of the attacking trio for Liverpool. 2 goals and 2 assists so far this season. So Newcastle have conceded 5 goals. That's, I don't know, it's okay. It's not a huge amount, but their expected goals conceded is 4.96. So basically, they're on a par really with what they should be conceding. I do look back to last season. I know it's a different manager, different Newcastle setup, different fixtures around them as well. But lots of people were saying that Newcastle could put up a fight to Liverpool last season, and guess what? They didn't. So I do have that in the back of my mind, but I'm wondering if that's affecting my judgment. Currently, though, Salah is my captain, but I am getting trigger happy with the City people as well. So let's turn to them. Let's just turn to City assets. You brought it up as well. Those with City assets have something to consider for the captaincy. Yeah, what do we think?
Yeah, well, the armband in my squad is on Sterling right now, and that's the knee-jerk decision I made. When was the deadline? Last Saturday morning, when I set up the team for Gameweek 5. Obviously, we'll look into this more as the week goes on. I think stats-wise, yes, he blanked in Gameweek 4. Stats-wise, he looks the better option. And if we revisit XGI, I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but he's top of every single FPL asset, no matter what the position, in terms of expected goal involvement this season. So no matter what Aguero's done so far, De Bruyne has been really good. Salah and Mane we've just discussed as well. Sterling tops a lot in terms of expected goal involvement. I think the fact that he does give you the dual threat of goals where he plays is obviously a big bonus. But I think that the main factor really for Man City asset this week is who they're playing rather than their own stats, which are well documented. Of course, it's Norwich, who are a very game team. You know, they're having a real go. They've come up sort of the Newcastle of the 90s, aren't they? They're the entertainers. They've come up with a real sort of attacking ambition. I think they've had to, really, because the defensive personnel are dropping like flies at the moment. So we saw against Chelsea that they had a go. They've played Liverpool game week 1, and again had a bit of a pop. I think they create more chances in that game than Liverpool had conceded in the whole of last season at Anfield. I'm sure that was the start.
Yeah, they did. I noticed with the change of goalkeeper, it sort of it gave like Popeye with spinach. It gave Norwich a nice lift there, and they did become quite potent. Actually, that's why so many people are going for the likes of Pukki and Cantwell. 4 weeks on from that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're entirely fixture proof, and I've got, as most people have, got Pukki now, and considering whether to play him or not tomorrow, I think I probably will. Based based on the fact that Laporte's out now for Man City. But yeah, in terms of Sterling, Aguero, and De Bruyne as captaincy picks, Norwich. Well, for a start, let's address the injury problem. So Tim Klose is out for the rest of the season. He's one of the first choice centre halves. Zimmerman lasted 36 minutes of his comeback in game week 4. He got carted off again. That's TBC on whether he's going to be available. Grant Hanley, who's like the sort of third choice backup, is again injured. Don't know if he's going to be fit. So right now they've only got one fit centre half. They may have to play Ibrahim Amadou, who's a defensive midfielder, at centre half. They've got Tom Tribal out for 6 weeks. He's a defensive midfielder. So they are very, very short of options in the defensive positions. I don't know whether Daniel Farke's got it in him to really sit back and defend. He hasn't really got the personnel to do that anyway. So I think this could be an absolute bloodbath myself. My worry with City is the fact that whereas Salah and Mane are rested over the international break, they haven't been away with their respective countries. City assets, apart from Aguero, aren't. So Sterling plays Tuesday night, I believe, against Kosovo. Yeah. De Bruyne's playing tonight against Scotland. Both of those players have already started one game. City have then got Shakhtar Donetsk on the Tuesday, I believe, following the Norwich game. So my slight concern is that this is where some rotation could happen, especially off the back of the international break. I suspect it'll be more a case of maybe winning the game and then resting players 60, 70 minutes in. Certainly I think that might be the case with De Bruyne. But that is my slight nagging doubt, which isn't a factor in Liverpool's case. And arguably makes Aguero the more secure option, I would say, for Game Week 5 because he hasn't played for Argentina over the international break. We're not sure if Gabriel Jesus is going to be back fit. So that is my one caveat, I think. But in terms of opposition, I think this is the easier fixture, despite the fact that City are away and despite the fact that Liverpool's got a Newcastle team who tend not to beat Big Six teams. But what do you think? Is there any stats sort of leaping out here?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, with my own team, my own position, I have Salah and Sterling. And at the moment, I favour Salah for the reasons you give. Salah nice and rested, Sterling not so. He's away from home, one's home. So just to see there. But I must admit, if I had Aguero, then I would have a really tricky task deciding. But I do have another caveat as well. So Norwich have conceded 10 goals. We've got it up on the screen there. Goals conceded 10. That's more than anyone else. But I think they've been unlucky. And according to the expected goals conceded stats, they have been unlucky. They should really have conceded around 6. That's still a lot. That's still one more than Newcastle. But nevertheless, it does show that perhaps they've been unlucky. That they're not the whipping boys that they're being said to be. But however, they are against City. I'm weighing up those options there. I think it is tricky. I think we've presented a lot of evidence there. You have as well. Sterling, Aguero, De Bruyne even, Salah and Mane are all good captaincy picks. If I see anyone with a captaincy on any of them, I would not say that's a really bad decision. They're all really good decisions. It's going to be tough. It's tough every week. Now, as you've said, we pretty much got it wrong every week. That's not to say we've had captain blanks every week. Our captain choices have done well. It's just the other guy's done better. We don't know. We just don't know which is going to do better there. So it's going to be up to your personal preference really and how your team is set up and your attitude to risk and things. I'm a bit of a dullard manager, so I think I'm going to go for the nice, safe guy who's had a rest and he's at home and he's against Newcastle. So I'll go for that. There are other options though. It's not all about City and Spurs. What about Spurs? And so it's not all about City and Liverpool, rather, I should say. What about Spurs? At home to Crystal Palace. Could Kane come back? I seem to remember Game Week 4 seems to be when Harry Kane becomes good after his usual August problems. We've already started seeing it with England, another hat-trick while on England duty. But yeah, what do we think about Harry Kane for the captaincy?
2 penalties and a tap-in against Bulgaria, and everyone's suddenly back on him. Yeah, I personally wouldn't be going near Spurs at the moment. I don't think you sell Kane ahead of this fixture. You probably don't sell Kane now for a while, given the fixture run, because he's still knocking in the points, despite his detractors. I think it's that Newcastle game that's got people hovering over the sell button, especially with Aubameyang's fixtures coming up. But 3 goals, 20 odd points already. Some excellent home fixtures to come. I think Palace, we'll discuss in a second about that. Palace haven't perhaps been quite as good defensively is what the stats say. The goals conceded column says. Now, they've conceded fewer goals than any team this season in the Premier League. Kept 2 clean sheets along the way. Have got a decent record away from home, especially. We saw last season that they were much more comfortable on the road than they were at Selhurst Park. More to do with goal scoring than clean sheets, I would suggest, which is obviously not an issue here with Kane. I think the fact that we've got Liverpool and City, who are more reliable assets with arguably slightly better fixtures, would make me immediately think no, to be honest. And we saw in that Arsenal game, we saw Son and Eriksen and Kane and Lamella all playing at that sort of attacking 4. Now, this was the first game where he's really gone with a sort of a 2-man attack up top, sort of a 4-2-2-2 it looked like. And I saw, because I watched this live, I saw plenty of Son getting beyond Kane, which I wonder is going to be an issue when he plays with a 2-man attack. That was the case last season, especially with Lucas Moura alongside him, where Kane was dropping slightly deeper, and Son or Lucas were the ones advancing beyond him. So I don't own Kane. Just full disclosure, I will be waiting to see how Pochettino juggles his midfield options and how Kane fares alongside Son. I think there's probably enough doubt at the moment for me to shy clear of Kane, and particularly in terms of captaincy recommendations. I don't think he's a terrible option. Of course he's not, but I think Gameweek 5 especially, there's so many good fixtures around the country that I think Spurs v Palace is actually one of the better ones. So I don't think so. I don't know about yourself, but I would perhaps that's owner or lack of owner bias talking, but I do think there are better options this week.
No, I think it's telling that you don't own him, and he's got Spurs coming up to a fantastic run, and it starts with a great home game, but you don't own him, and I think even if I did, I would wonder if why I would captain him. Because he's let us down on these types of fixtures. Salah and the Man City assets don't tend to let us down. Occasionally, you get the occasional one. But so many times over the years I've tried to captain Kane at home, and we don't know which Kane's going to turn up. Is it the fabulous striker Kane, or is it the midfield Kane, the at best a number 10? And as you said, the likes of Son, we've seen with Moura as well, getting in much more advanced roles as well. Is Kane the Kane we want? We want to see lots of shots on target there, and we are seeing that really. So we want to see more. We've had 13 shots from Kane so far this season. 9 have been inside the box. 4 have been on target. So we've seen some on target, not as many as some of the others though. So for example, Aguero's had 6 shots on target. Raheem Sterling's had 7 shots on target. I know we're talking about 2 or 3 shots on target over a 4-week period. Yeah. But with Kane, I want to see Kane at the top of that. That's where Kane should be. So he's getting the shots, but he's not getting them on target. He's not getting that quality there. Minutes per goal attempt in the box stats are very telling, I think, with Kane. 1 every 40 minutes. Aguero 1 every 26 minutes. They can't compete at the moment for the captaincy. It's just that simple. If you've got Kane, okay. Who knows? Maybe we're completely wrong here, but on the evidence so far, he's not one I would want to captain as well.
I think a lot of his shots came in our Game Week 1 match as well at Aston Villa. I think since then, I think he's had 3 shots in the box. Now, yes, that was... I did include an away trip at Man City and a North London derby, but Arsenal aren't great defensively. That also included a home game against Newcastle. And his only goal in that time has been from the penalty spot. So, I probably would stay clear, which means he's going to absolutely haul this weekend and score 4. Because I'll continue the tradition and stepping in for David and recommending the wrong player for Game Week 5. But I do think this week he's there are just too many nagging doubts.
Okay, so we're not recommending Kane, but sticking with North London, Arsenal away at Watford. Could it be time for Aubameyang? Now, Aubameyang, someone I perhaps would recommend for the captaincy this week. Kane, but what do you think? Yeah, Aubameyang for the armband.
I think if Harvey was still in charge, I'd be tempted. So Watford haven't kept a clean sheet. I think it's 16 games now, stretching back to 2018-19. Statistically, one of the worst teams in the division from a defensive perspective this calendar year. So I think they've conceded more big chances than any other club in the top flight in 2019, which is what Aubameyang got a lot of last season. I think he was top for big chances amongst FPL forwards. Again, I'm gonna be the party pooper and throw a few doubts in your mind. He is rested over the international break. However, we saw against Spurs in Gameweek 4 that Emery used all three of his premium options in attack. Now, Aubameyang was out on the left with Lacazette through the centre and Pepe on the right. Now, it does seem to come to the cost, as you would expect, if you're not the focal point of an attack. Seems to come at the cost of your stats. So last season, if you can remember, towards the beginning of last season, Emery was reluctant to play both Aubameyang and Lacazette, and then start them together. But it was in a sort of a 4-2-3-1 with Aubameyang on the left, and that's where he's resumed playing now. Now he's last season when he hit that run of form in sort of game weeks 4 to 12, something like that. He was doing it in spite of his stats. So he's clinical. His goal conversion rate's already always high, so he can defy the stats. But against Spurs, for example, he'd had one shot before Lacazette went off. And this was starting on the left. As soon as he moved up top, 3 shots in the final 20 odd minutes, and scored from that position. So my sort of slight concern with Aubameyang is he going to be shunted out the left long term? And is that going to affect his goal scoring threat? Which I think it might. But as I said, he has defied the stats in previous seasons. Capable of turning very few touches into goals. I just think, I think with the new manager bounce for Watford as well, Kike Flores is back. How's he going to approach it? There'll obviously be a reaction from the players and the fans. Again, slight doubts over those two. Aubameyang's, again, one of many, many excellent options this week for the captaincy. And I think in any other week, if it was Arsenal v Watford, and we didn't have Liverpool and City with such great games, then he'd be higher up the reckoning, I think. But again, I think those nagging doubts for me probably just cost him, I think, a place or two in the pecking order for captaincy. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I like the look of him. So it's an eye test thing, really, because his stats wise, his stats are good. Like Kane's are good, but they're sort of Kane level at the moment. And we've had 4 weeks, so we're not quite sure. And it certainly at the moment doesn't compete with the likes of Aguero or Sterling or Salah as well. But Aubameyang, he's had 13 shots, 3 goals from that. He's got a shot in the box every 40 minutes. 9 of his shots have been inside the box, 5 of those on target. So 1 more on target than Kane's, but broadly similar there. So he's sort of top of the next best. So if we look at Liverpool and City as being the best for captaincy assets, for me, I'd put Aubameyang. So if I owned maybe just one, if I owned just a City asset and Aubameyang would be my vice captain, and I'm probably going to captain him for one of the days in the Sky game as well. If I eventually go for him in my overhaul, I do like him a lot. But as you said, there are caveats there. And Watford, annoyingly, getting rid of a manager who's been really effective at their whole whipping boy status, which I was hoping was going to continue, but we don't know now. Could do, but we don't know.
I mean, I should say that he hasn't actually blanked this season. Aubameyang, he's got a goal or assist in every game so far. So, he's despite what I've said, he's still delivering.
Yes, he's good.
Yeah, hasn't had double figures yet though for a score. So
which is sort of Callum Wilson-esque. 5 points every match. Well, it's just ticking along nicely, but it's kind of not what you expect, and especially not what you expect for someone Aubameyang's price. But what about the other matches taking place as well? There are a few other differential captaincy options to go for. What about his one? Jamie Vardy away to, I've written here, that Manchester United defence. Manchester United concede Jamie Vardy is on the back of 2 fantastic games in terms of goal scoring. As we've established on the Scoutcast over the weeks, he's a stat buster, continuing to be. Doesn't matter if he's not showing up on the expected goals charts and those things. He can score from anywhere. But yeah, differential. He's certainly got form.
Very, very differential. And yeah, he's got excellent records against the big 6. I don't know. I think Man United's defence isn't perhaps as bad as what folk are making out. I think they've got the second best expected goals conceded total this season. Leicester, funnily enough, are the top, so maybe a 0-0 here. No teams conceded fewer big chances Man United this season, so I don't think they're perhaps as bad as what folk are making out. I think certainly against Southampton, for example, Southampton weren't in that at all until the goal, which came from Vestergaard header. But they hadn't really created much at all. United were cruising really in that game. So I don't think there'll be a lot of opportunities in these matches. Yes, as you said, Vardy, if you're just looking at XG, you think, well, how is he doing it? Because he's way down on the list in terms of actual shots as well. But he is one of those players who will just be anonymous for long periods of the game. He's often at the bottom of the final for touches table as well in terms of individual games, but then just crops up with a goal. I do think you'd have to be very maverick to go within this. I think this is one of those, if it was Gameweek 37 and you were desperate to claw back a lead, you might consider it, but you'd have to be mad, I think, to consider it in Gameweek 5. I think, given the other options available this weekend.
Yeah, no, it's good to mention, because people always say, oh, what about this differential? It's not all about City and Liverpool. And so we've given an option there. Here's another one, Allaire as well. Away to Villa. So West Ham's main striker, away to Villa. And I like this as well. He's on Monday. So he plays the final match of the game week as well. And this might play into people's mentality about the captaincy as well. Some people, they like the thrill of having a captaincy waiting until that last fixture. So everyone's played their captaincy. They're hoping that the likes of Salah and Sterling and Guerrero have kept quiet. Some hope. But and then they're hopefully in prime position there to get Allaire, who has got a shot in the box every 30 minutes, which is the same as Sterling. Underlying stats-wise, he's great. What do you think about him as an extreme differential armband option?
Very extreme. Maybe not as extreme as Vardy, but yeah, he came to West Ham as a sort of reputation of not being a Wesley type, but I think even Pellegrini said, he's more than just a goal scorer. He drops deep, he links up play. I think that maybe put a few people off, but the stats aren't showing that so far. I mean, he's had 6 shots from inside the 6-yard box this season, and he's only played 3 games because he missed out in game week 2 with an injury. And he's towards the top of the XGI tables. In fact, he's 4th for XGI amongst all players, despite missing one of those games. Yes, they've played Norwich and Watford within that, who are 2 of the worst defensive teams. But he's proven quite a quiet success, and I think people are starting to cotton on now. But for a little while, he was kind of going under the radar. Those 2 games, I do think those 2 games he just played, Watford and Norwich, you don't really get much better than that in terms of fixtures. I think Villa, yes, they're towards the bottom of the shot count table, but a lot of that, I mean, 31 of the shots they conceded was in game week 1, when they went ahead early at Spurs and then had to defend for the rest of the game. And I think Villa are going to be placing a lot of emphasis on winning games at Villa Park this season. So I think we saw that against Everton game week 3. They were much better. I do like Allaire, and I think if I had limited funds, then he'd be someone I'd consider. But I do think his best 2 fixtures have already been and gone, and I think this is a sterner test. Not to say he couldn't get the odd attack and return, but not for me, I don't think.
No, okay, so good to own. A lot of people wildcarding as well this week, and I know he's very popular there. Here's a stat I quite like about him. Now, it may seem a bit bad. Chances created, none. That now people say, well, okay, well he's not gonna rack up the assists there. Some forwards can get the assists and the goals, but I look at that in combination with the fact he's had 9 goal attempts in 3 starts and think, well, he's 7.5 or so, and he's really selfish, so he could be getting goals. Not going to be an assist man, but I like the idea of that, and so that's why I think he could be, not quite a scraping the bottom of the barrel, but he's definitely a differential captaincy that's not overly eyebrow raising. But for now, just before we go, is there any other barrel scraping captaincy options, or should we call it a halt now?
I think we reached the bottom of the barrel
Okay.
a couple of minutes ago, didn't we? So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. There'll be more articles on captaincy this week. I think, especially pay attention to the international games that are happening between now and Wednesday. That could change everything. You don't know what's going to happen injury wise. We'll obviously be doing a scoutcast tomorrow, and then David's going to be doing his usual Captain Sensible article on Friday morning, I think. So pay attention to that, I think, because we may have developments between now and then.
Yeah, and also listen out at the end of the week, listen or watch. We have obviously podcast versions of everything we do. So we've got the team news as well with yourself coming up towards the end of the week. So we'll find out there, what state some of these players are in, and just also what the manager's been saying about whether they have or have not been on international duty. Just wanted to say that some of the stats that we've been drawing out there, especially some of the expected stats, expected goals and expected goals conceded, things like that, all available in the members area. Do urge people, if they're a member, go in, have a look, find out some good stats, and if you're not, get membership and go in and have a look. Lots of exclusive articles as well during the week. But for now, Neale, thanks so much for that. Good luck with your captaincy decision, and I will see you tomorrow for the Scoutcast. Goodbye.
Yeah, see you then, Joe. Bye-bye.